Have you ever felt truly alone, lost in a wilderness of your own making, or one forced upon you? This is a story about such a moment, a story about a journey, not a grand adventure, but a desperate walk into the barren unknown. It is the story of a woman. Her name was Hagar. She was not a queen, she was not a prophetess, she was a servant, an outsider, a person on the fringes of a great story. Yet her story echoes with a truth that touches us all. Her steps were heavy, her heart felt like a stone. She ran. Hagar fled the place she once called home, a place of promises, promises not for her. She served Sarai, she served Abram. In their house a great drama unfolded. Faith, waiting, divine covenant, human doubt. Hagar was caught in the middle, a pawn in a plan she did not choose. Hope became bitterness. Family joy soured into jealousy and conflict. Now, carrying life within her, she was cast out, by cruelty, not chains. She chose the desert over torment. Her journey began as escape, not destination. Each footstep moved her from familiar pain toward unknown peril. The sun beat down. The air grew thin and hot. The world she knew shrank behind her, fading to nothing. Ahead, nothing but sand and sky, an endless, silent expanse, mirroring her emptiness. She was leaving everything, walking toward nothing. She was unseen, or so she thought. This is where the story truly begins, not in the tent of a patriarch, but in the heart of a frightened woman. It begins in quiet desperation. It unfolds in the shimmering heat of the wilderness of Shur. We will walk with her. We will feel grit beneath her feet and the weight of silence. We will journey into the depths of her isolation, into a place of profound loneliness. Here, in the darkest moment, a question arises. Is anyone watching? Does anyone see? Who sees us when we are broken? When the path behind us is consumed by fire and the path ahead is shrouded in dust? Who hears the silent screams of a heart pushed beyond its limits? This is the question that hung in the air around Hagar. It was a question she likely did not even have the words to form. Her pain was too immediate, her fear too consuming. She was simply a person in motion, a soul in flight, driven to escape a pain that had become unbearable. Her world had collapsed. Her future was a blank, terrifying canvas. Every hope she'd harbored had turned to ash in her mouth. She was more than just a servant running from a harsh mistress. She was a woman about to become a mother, carrying the future in her womb, a future that now seemed destined for desolation. What would become of her child? What hope could there be for a life born in the wilderness, without a tribe, without a home, without a name? These fears circled her like vultures, relentless. The shame of being cast out, the terror of the unknown, the deep, aching loneliness of her situation. She was a single, small point of suffering in a vast, indifferent world. Her story was her own, yet it is also ours. We have all known our own deserts. We have all walked paths of sorrow and uncertainty. We have felt the sting of injustice, the ache of being misunderstood, the cold dread of facing our trials utterly alone. We have looked at our lives and seen only a wasteland stretching to the horizon. In these moments, we become Hagar. We carry our own burdens, our own unborn hopes that we fear will never see the light of day. We wonder if our struggles have any meaning, if our tears fall unnoticed to the ground, absorbed by the thirsty sand without a trace. This story invites us to pause, to step into the silence of that ancient desert. It asks us to consider the nature of seeing and being seen. It is a quiet meditation on the moments that define us, not the moments of triumph, but the moments of complete and utter vulnerability. Hagar's journey is a 20-minute walk, a brief moment in a long life, but within it lies an encounter that would ripple through eternity. It is an encounter that gives a name to a hidden God, a name born from the deepest cry of the human heart, the need to be seen. Her experience whispers a promise across the ages, a promise that even in the wilderness we are not invisible. It was at this moment of absolute surrender, when the will to go on had all but vanished, that something shifted. Perhaps it was a sound, so faint at first it was indistinguishable from the ringing in her own ears. Or maybe it was a change in the quality of the light, a subtle flicker in the oppressive glare. Hagar lifted her head, her eyes scanning the horizon without expectation. And then she saw it. As she knelt by the water, catching her breath, the silence broke. It was a voice, not memory, not mirage, but present.
It was clear and present. It seemed to come from everywhere, from the air itself. It spoke her name. Hagar.
The sound of her own name was a shock that went deeper than the cool water. It was a sound that did not belong here, the sound of being known in utter anonymity.
Sarai's servant, where have you come from? Where are you going?
The question pierced through her layers of pain and confusion. It acknowledged her entire reality in a single breath. Sarai's servant. It named her station, the source of her suffering. It acknowledged her flight, the past she was trying to escape. It acknowledged her future, the terrifying blankness before her. In that one question, her lonely ordeal was seen and understood.
I am fleeing from my mistress, Sarai.
There it was. The shame, the pain, the injustice, all laid bare in a few words. She simply stated the fact of her escape.
Go back to your mistress and submit to her.
Go back? Back to the humiliation? Back to the cruelty? It seemed an impossible, unbearable command.
I will increase your descendants until they are beyond number.
This was not a small promise. This was covenant language, the kind of promise God made to patriarchs like Abram. And it was being given to her, to Hagar, a woman, a foreigner, a slave.
You are pregnant and will bear a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your misery.
Ishmael. God hears. Her silent suffering, her unheard cries in the tent of Sarai, her desperate gasps in the wilderness, they had all been heard. This was the great shift. Hagar's perspective was being lifted from immediate survival to a vast, unfolding divine plan. She was not just a runaway slave. She was to be the mother of a great nation. The command to return was no longer just a sentence to more suffering. It was now framed by purpose. Her journey was no longer a flight from the past. It was a return to her future. She came to disappear and was found by the source of everything.
You are El Roy.
It means, you are the God who sees me. Not abstract, personal, not the God who sees, but the God who sees me. So the well was given a name, Bir Lahai Roy, the well of the living one who sees me. She arrived a hopeless fugitive. She left with a mission, a promise, and a new name for God. The journey back was not the same journey. The path was identical, but Hagar was no longer the same woman. She walked with a new purpose. As Abram's camp appeared on the horizon, she did not feel the same dread as before. The fear was no longer all-consuming. She was walking back into the heart of her trouble, but she was not walking alone. She was under the gaze of El Roy, and that knowledge gave her the courage to face whatever awaited her, to submit not to Sarai, but to the greater plan she now served. The years that followed were not easy. Hagar focused on her son. She poured all her love, all her hope, into him. She would have told him the story of his name, the angel at the spring, the God who hears. This was his birthright. But this period of relative peace was a fragile one. And then, Sarah, in her old age, would bear a son of her own. For Hagar and Ishmael, it was the sound of a gathering storm. The story of Hagar does not end with a neat and tidy resolution. Yet through it all, the central revelation remains. El Roi, the God who sees me. We have all walked in the wilderness of Shur. Our deserts may not be of sand and rock, but they are just as real. They are the landscapes of grief, the barren ground of loneliness. In these moments, we become Hagar. Hagar's journey offers us a calm and hopeful lesson. It teaches us that the wilderness is often the very place where God chooses to meet us. Our deepest encounters with the divine often happen not on the mountaintops of success, but in the valleys of our desperation. The spring did not appear for Hagar when she was strong, but when she had fallen to her knees in complete surrender. In our own lives, the spring might be a kind word from a stranger, an unexpected moment of beauty. These are the springs in our wastelands. They are signs of a living presence, small evidences of El Roi. When we know ourselves to be seen, we are more able to see others in the same way. We begin to look for the Hagars in our own world, the invisible, the marginalized, the ones whose stories are overlooked. The steady gaze of forever gives us this anchor. It is the difference between being a ship tossed on a chaotic sea and a ship anchored to the ocean floor, still feeling the waves, but secure in its foundation. And so, we close where we began, in the quiet reverence of the desert. For this moment, in the calm of the dawn, there is only peace. Hagar's story leaves us with this image of a new day, a day that begins with the simple, world-altering knowledge of being seen. May we all carry this knowledge with us. May we find our own spring in the wilderness, and may we live each day in the quiet, steady, and life-giving gaze of El Roi, the living one who sees us forever.